A Leeds-based business is celebrating a big anniversary this year. 10 years since the employees were given ownership of the business, each having a share in the decisions and the profits. Union Industries has been in business since 1972 and are based in Hunslet, and their managing director, Andrew Lane, joins me live in the studio. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, good morning.
Happy anniversary.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. We're celebrating in some style.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Tell us how employee ownership works, because I'm sure there's lots of people, like I say, on the way to work this morning thinking, God, I wish I owned a bit of this business that I put in my blood, sweat and tears for.
Absolutely. So it's a long story. I'll try and keep it tight. So effectively, the owners of a business sell that company to the employees. It's not actually as easy as that. There's a trust involved. They transfer ownership to the trust. The trust repays the debt, the cost of buying the business, but it does that from future profits. So the employees get the business. They don't have to pay for the business, but what it does mean is that that business is sort of guaranteed to remain in the form that the former owners wanted it to be.
Tell me about, from a business perspective, some of the obstacles of that, because you said, it's a long story, but from the outside, it sounds wonderful, but on the inside, what are the difficulties?
Well, actually, the difficulties are largely paperwork. It's all the boring stuff. There isn't really a downside to this. The employees get something, they get, the business gets engagement. Because actually, these people are now working for themselves, provided you do it fairly. And there are, like all things, this system can be abused. So you've got to pick a business that really wants to do it for the right reasons.
So the people who work at Union Industries then, how do they feel? Because I imagine, like you say, there'd be a sense of investment. Like you do feel like you're working for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's largely true. And what happens is people don't really understand it. And then they join us and then they kind of get it. So our retention is very high. We do lose people occasionally, but what's interesting is probably 50% of the people that leave, move on to other jobs, then want to come back. Because actually the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. We're doing it right at Union.
Would you recommend employee ownership to other businesses? Would you like to see this sort of model become a bit more widespread?
Absolutely. I mean, across the country, EO businesses significantly outperform conventional ones. And the other thing about it is it keeps the businesses in the UK. If our former owners had sold, chances are it would have been a foreign company. And we all know what that means. We're going to lose the manufacturing and it's going to go off to a low-cost centre somewhere. This way, we are still manufacturing in Hunslet. We're employing local people and we're using local services. It's all good.
So you're coming up to your 10 years here of employee ownership. So we've seen what the last 10 years have done. What are you hoping for the next 10 years?
Wow. Okay, so that's a great question. So in many ways, it's about the consistent development of the business. We are investing heavily in R&D, so we want new products, new processes, new services, and we want to be the best supplier to our blue chip customers that we could possibly be, and that will take us where it takes us. We're not defined in the way that we want to get from where we are to a particular destination. We're going to develop with the market.
For anyone listening who maybe they work for a company and they're wondering, how do I do this? And maybe they're in an office or they're in a warehouse somewhere and they're all looking at each other thinking, how do we do this? Is there a way that employees of a company can make it happen without the owners actually wanting to sell and wanting to sell to the employees?
Well, I'd say no in terms of without the owners wanting to sell it, but there's absolutely a reason to push towards that, because what I didn't tell you earlier is that the sellers, they get paid tax-free. So it's good for business sellers as well as the employees within. And the resource to go to is the Employee Ownership Association, the EOA. Everything you need about employee ownership is right there.
Well, fascinating. I did not know that this was even a thing that could happen. Thank you so much for being with us, Andrew.
Been a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for explaining employee ownership to us. Andrew Lane there, Managing Director of Union Industries. Are you listening? Are you part of something like this at your work? Get in touch. Let me know. I'm fascinated by this.